can you kind of tell us about further recruitment over the rest of the summer? I know you mentioned in this interview earlier on you and the staff have analysed where you think we could improve and where our strengths are. So what's kind of the timeline between now and the start of the season? What kind of you were expecting?
I'm not going to pretend that I know the timelines, Greg, because they seem to change so much. I've learned so much so fast in this job that you can feel like you're very, very close on something or it's imminent, and then it can be gone. And then also the other way around, that what is a no earlier on in the window moves towards being a potential yes later on in the window, and we're getting a little bit of that now. So I felt it was important not to feel any haste or edginess about needing to get bodies in for any particular time. Last year, I think it got pretty drastic that we did need bodies. This year, I don't necessarily think we need to rush into anything that we're not convinced on, and we're not going to do that. So I think the marketplace is constantly moving. There's the early free agent market, and then there was obviously a lot of players who feel like they're going to secure moves or deserve to secure moves to certain levels in the pyramid. They may not think they're going to play at your level, but then a little bit further on down the line, a little bit where we're at now, players returning to pre-season, some of them return to pre-season in the EFL with clubs maybe thinking their face isn't fitting the way they thought it would, and then they begin to look to the market themselves. It's a really rapidly moving market, and I think we've only done business thus far that we're convinced helps us, and we're convinced on all aspects of the move, and I think that's all we'll do from here on in. There's more to be done, for sure. There's a number of positions that we need to add players in. It's very active. I'm very actively involved in a number of conversations now, to the point that there are lots of calls every single day on the same thing, and they feel like they only move an inch each time, but we're attempting to move them towards a direction that we all want them to, in the hope that, and the belief that, in my opinion, come day one, we'll be in a stronger position than we were last year.
In terms of our friendly schedule, 6 matches lined up, first of which is Warrington Town a week on Saturday the 13th of July. What are your thoughts on that schedule, and kind of how will that lead us into the start of the season?
Yeah, 6-game programme, Greg. I think it starts off with Warrington, Fleetwood, Mac. Then with the games further down the line, Carlisle, Avro, remind me.
Salford.
Correct, yeah, correct. Yeah, I think the programme offers what we need. A bit of a variance of levels of opponents. I think, yeah, it will run alongside the pre-season that we've planned, hopefully perfectly. Trying to achieve the right amount of balance of workloads without risking, any unnecessary increased risk of injury. So no, I think it's a good games program, Greg. It'll be very much experimental. It'll be us looking at things, us looking at our players in the different positions we can play them in. Because I think a number of the players we've brought in this year, Greg, are guys that play in different positions. And I think we have to do that. It's important. We have to do that insanely last year, with the players playing all over the place, really, amazingly so. But we'll have to look at that in pre-season again. I think the programme is what it is. It's designed exactly for that, and I'm happy with it.
How do you view the National League this coming season? I know it was obviously lost Chesterfield and Bromley going up, and with Sutton and Forest Green coming down. Just how do you kind of see the makeup of the league this season?
Different. I think there's a couple of clubs that are already here that have monster budgets, that on paper underachieving. That they're trying to sort their acts out again this year. There are always any of the teams with those sort of huge budgets are a set of decisions away from really having the ability to blow the league away with the sort of finances that's being committed to them. I think it's a strange league in the fact that the lack of regulation, that the FFP sort of stuff that you have to stick to in the Football League, it just doesn't exist in the National League, it can be a little bit of the Wild West at times. And from each year to the next, the emotion of any chairman can change the course of what's being committed to a team. I've heard a couple of stories this summer, and I've seen some evidence that seems to support it, that there's a couple of teams, certainly one, who have just suddenly gone bang and had an extra chunk to the budget, which I don't necessarily know why that amount, but it's the point I'm getting at is it changes year to year. I think Forest Green come down and will be highly competitive. I think their signings so far are pretty much all EFL campaign type players who've been playing a lot of football for good clubs, so they're making notable signings. And truthfully, I just don't think you ever quite know because the turnover, and I mean the way the league ended last year, with playoffs changing its format just before they even started, it's stuff you don't see in the EFL. And yeah, I said the Wild West earlier, it is a little bit like that at times. So despite the fact we've got to keep our eye on the competitors and the market and everything else, try and keep our focus like in our own lane, and not necessarily worry too much about what other clubs pose threats, what other teams are going to do, whether try and place where we think everyone's at. I think the most important focus is inside, on us, in-house, on our model, and on every decision that we're making, because every single one counts. So yeah, very much focuses on ourselves.
I know we've kind of said it's a bit of a new area. There's a new kind of timeline in terms of what the Ogden family have set out in terms of wanting to return to the EFL in 3 years. We know it's kind of all new and fancy, but how much can last season, the experience at the National League, obviously your first sort of 12 months of permanent head coach, how much can that help us now going forward?
Loads. Yeah, there was a lot of learning last year on the job. Not about football or, not about game plans or tactics or anything else. That evolves all the time anyway. That's a constant learning game, in my opinion. You've never cracked that, and if you have, you think you have, I think you're in danger. But there was some learning about the league. There was some learning about the logistics of things, travelling to games on the day, and some of the tactics that take place in the league, with clubs not letting you into their ground until such a time because they have the facilities booked out. Some stuff like that we'd not seen before. You expect to have exclusivity when you get to a ground, for example, for a game, but sometimes realise teams maybe being a little bit savvy with the time they're letting you have in a changing room or what they're letting you do on the pitch warm-up wise. Like the stuff that I've not really seen before. It's quite funny actually, like some of it that you come across, but that's all learning. That is all learning. And I think obviously getting to know players, I'd be lying if I said I was an expert on the National League last season and know all the players in all the other teams. I committed over the summer to trying to absorb as much as possible and learn as much about the opponents as possible. But just through having a year in it, you do know so much more. You do feel like you know the tendencies of teams a little bit more, the tendencies of players a little bit more. And I think that year of experience for our lads who only ever played in the Football League but felt this last year will be good also. I think the experience of getting used to the officiating at this level, don't know if you'll ever get used to with some of the stuff I seen last year. And I hope that I never see the linesman at Halifax ever again officiating at any level, because I'll never understand. But yeah, the experiences will definitely enrich us going into the season, Greg. They're definitely helpful for all of us, I think.